Good afternoon, ladies. I thought it better to discuss this memo with you rather than just put pictures on it. So I'm working through exercise 3F. Okay. You can see the answers there. Most of you got it. But let's just talk through it. Okay. So for F1, you have the gradients. This gradient is 2. This gradient is then 3. I worked out the angle of inclination for each of those, and the difference between those will then give me alpha, which is an 8,14. I think that's quite self-explanatory. That wasn't too difficult. The same thing over here. Gradient negative 3 over 2. This gradient is equal to 1, and then if you work out the one minus the other, you'll end up getting 78.69. So that was the gradient, or the value for alpha. Alright, over here it got a bit more tricky, but yeah, still same concept. I first had to work out the gradient. So I worked with the gradient formula. I got to the one gradient of being negative 3 over 2. I got to the other gradient equal to 1. And then again, theta 2 minus theta 1 gave me that value there. I just labeled it to be beta. It wasn't beta in your textbook, but that is vertically opposite from alpha, so it has the same value as beta. Please note that if you use geometry reasoning, you must just indicate it. So there I said that it is vertically opposite. Okay, let's have a look at the rest. Okay, so there's number 4. Yeah, number 4 gave me a bit of grey hair, but let's just make sure you're fine. Okay, so I worked out the inclination of both the lines. Okay, so I had to work out gradient first. So I work out the gradient of PQ. That is then minus 5 over 4. Inclination is 128,66. That's the Q1 over here, if you can see it. Okay. Then the inclination of RS will be over here. That's going to be all the way around there. I label it theta 2. Work out the gradient and then get the value of the inclination angle. Alright. Now, the difference between those two values will give me this little angle beta here. Okay, this then is a revolution. So in other words, if I were to take 2 times the value of alpha, which is this big one here that you're looking for, so that, and obviously that's also going to be alpha then, plus the 2 little betas, it will give me 360 degrees because of the revolution. If I divide by 2 right through, alpha plus beta must be 180, and I just worked out the value of beta here. So I subtracted 28 from there, and the value for alpha will then be 151,86. Alright, let's have a look at 5 and 6. Alright, so for 5, I worked out the gradient of this line. I worked out the inclination, which was then theta there. Theta 2, angles on a straight line. This then give me 56,31. Adjacent supplementary angles. And then because this was not given as 90, but you can see that it is a 90-degree angle there because it's where the Cartesian plane, the x and the y-axis meet, I could do interior angles of a triangle. 6, very much the same concept. I worked out the gradient of this line. I then got the inclination of this line. I labeled it theta. Alright, and then I did interior angles of a triangle over here because this was 90, and I just labeled this beta. So 180 minus the value of theta minus 90 gave me this beta here, and then adjacent supplementary angles helped me then to calculate that to be 116,57. Alright, so that is it for F6. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, then concerning G, this is what you're looking for. I tried to use some color here as well. Okay, what you need to do, this is quite challenging. Firstly, you need to understand the gradient of this line will be 1. Okay, this is perpendicular to it. So the gradient of this line running here is going to be minus 1. Because if I find the negative reciprocal of 1, it's minus 1. I can then work out this blue inclination angle over here. What I now do is I construct a imaginary line here parallel to my x-axis, and then do you see that the blue ones are corresponding angles? Okay, so in other words, if I get that value, I'll get the same value over here. Okay, now the tricky thing to understand now is that I can find the x-intercept of this line. The reason I'm doing that is because I need two values to work out gradient. So if I set this equal to 0, x will be minus 3. So the coordinate there at A is minus 3 and 0. I can now use these two coordinates, work out the gradient, and then the inclination. And that inclination angle will be the red one over there. Once again, now you have to look carefully. I try to make it light and red. There you find corresponding angles again. So in other words, this big thing over here will be equal to that thing over there. It's the upside down F. It's corresponding angles because these two things are parallel. And then of course you can just say whatever the red is minus whatever the blue is will give you the value of alpha. Okay, I didn't work this one out in detail because this is the one for the assessment, but I think that should be enough guidance. Please feel free to ask any more questions. Replay the video, go over it slower. Yes, I think I said everything. Good luck, ladies. Have a good evening. Bye.